Me, 40s female. Mike, my husband, 40s male. Married 11 years. James, my ex, 40s male. Anna, my kid's stepmom, James's wife, married 8 years. Stepkids, SK, 16-14 female. Bio kids, BK, 17-14 female. Little bro, little brother of my bio kids, 3 male. My husband and I make good but not great money. For privacy's sake, I'll say that I'm an assistant principal and my husband is an electrician. We put aside what we can for college tuition, and I've invested wisely. Without getting into specific numbers, we could send one child to an in-state public university debt-free, as long as they worked and had roommates. James is a high-earning son of a high earner. I'll say he's a banker, and his father is also a banker. Anna is also in the finance field. Anna comes from money. Her parents are 1%ers. Her father has our senator's personal cell phone number. We have all, me, James, Mike, and Anna, generally tried to abide by the principle of the parent pays for their bio kid. Theory being that each kid deserves 2 parents supporting them financially. So, in theory, James and I would pay for my bio kid's college, and Mike and his ex would pay for their kid's college. Here's where it gets tricky. My stepkid's mom is a junkie. She'll never, ever be able to support them in any way, especially financially. James and his parents can easily swing college for my kids at any school they choose. However, James's parents were and are extremely controlling, and use money as a weapon to get what they want. It was a major factor in the breakup of my first marriage. Mike has been lobbying hard to split our college fund between his kids, instead of 4 ways. Mike's point is basically, 1, we save for retirement before starting a college fund, and all the kids benefit from not having to take care of us in our old age. 2, Anna's connections and influence will benefit my bio kids, even if there's no direct financial handout. And 3, his kids will likely carry debt no matter what, while mine won't. I think he makes good points, but I feel like an a-hole for subjecting my kids to something I ended my marriage over. You're the a-hole, and your kids will rightfully resent you. Your husband is majorly the a-hole trying to take their money. My stepmom was like this, always finding logic to justify them putting her kids first, including trying to steal my education fund. Now I have no respect for my father and make no effort to bring my kids around them. You're the a-hole. Why is it relevant that James's wife comes from money? Why would she help when clearly you guys had decided that bio parents would be paying everything for bio kids? You already know even if James's parents help, there will be strings. Yet you are very willing to screw your bio children over for your husband and his children. You're the a-hole. Your bio kid should be your first responsibility. Why do you expect Anna, your bio kid's stepmom, to finance their education when you won't? Mike is an a-hole too. Just because his kids don't have their mom's support, it does not mean he can just take over someone else's funds. I've been thinking about this for weeks, 24/7, and I don't know what to do. I have no one to talk to about this in real life. I've been with my boyfriend for 2 years. We met in school. Since our school is in my state, he's met my family multiple times and comes home with me a lot. But since he's from out of state, I haven't had the chance to meet his parents until recently. He invited me to go back with him for spring break to his family's summer home where they'd be, and I said yes. He's an only child, so it was just going to be me, him, and his parents, so I was kinda nervous to meet them. The trip was great. His parents were really nice. On one of the last nights, my boyfriend went out with his dad for the night, so it was just me and his mom in the house. She invited me to share a bottle of wine with her, and I'm not much of a drinker, but I didn't want to make things awkward. She drank most of the bottle and got very drunk, and we were actually having an interesting conversation. She was telling me about her early life modeling and being a news broadcaster, and as the conversation flowed, she kept drinking more and more. It hit midnight, and she was holding her phone screen, and all of a sudden started crying. I asked her what's wrong, and she said that today is the anniversary for a huge moment in her life, and she always gets emotional on this date. She kept crying, and then she told me why. She said that she's never told anyone this before, and then went on to say that today is the 25th anniversary of her becoming a mom. I was super confused, since it wasn't my boyfriend's birthday, and he's her only child, but she kept going, and said that it was the day she had him implanted inside her, and that my boyfriend was an egg donor's baby. She had no viable eggs, so her and her husband used his sperm and someone else's egg to have my boyfriend, and no one knew since it was a different time back in the 90s, and in her circle, she'd be shamed. She was pregnant and gave birth to him, breastfed him, and did everything a mother did, and that she was never planning to tell him until he was in middle school, and they felt guilty so they talked to a child psychologist, who told them that they should have told him when he was younger, and that they should wait until he's in early 20s to tell him, since that's when his empathy will be strong, And if they tell him at this age, he will never forgive them. My boyfriend's 24, and she said she still hasn't told him, and at this point, never will. I was shocked, and didn't say anything and almost cried myself. She kept talking about her other failed IVFs after him, and ended up falling asleep, so I left to go to my boyfriend's room. When he came back, I faked like I was asleep, but was up all night, sick. It's been 2 weeks, and I still haven't told him, and I'm too scared to. I don't want to be the messenger for such traumatic personal news. His parents should tell him, not me. Would I be the a-hole if I didn't say anything? If it was 25 years ago, your boyfriend can't be 23 right now. Also, she carried him, she birthed him, she breastfed him, she raised him. She's his mom. Just forget these drunken words. Not the a-hole. You would not be the a-hole. Still don't think this is specifically your place to tell him, considering his mom did birth him and all that jazz. I would possibly encourage them to tell him, but at this point, as long as there's no genetic or hereditary concerns he should be aware of, does it even matter? She literally birthed him. What a crappy position to have been put in. If it was me, I would call the parents and tell them that they have put you in an impossible situation, and they now need to tell him as you're not willing to keep a secret from him. He's not adopted, it's an egg donor. She gave birth and all that. The keeping it secret makes it seem a bigger deal than it is. My mom died when I, 19 female, was 7, and my 2 younger brothers were 5 and 4. Our dad started dating a year later. He met Sarah when I was 9, and they got married when I was 11. Sarah had a daughter who was 2 when they moved in, which was about a year after they started dating. Sarah and my dad also had my 3 half-siblings together. So I have 1 stepsister who is now 11, and 3 half-siblings who are 8, 7, and 6. My brothers are 17 and 16. My dad stayed pretty close to my maternal family, and they were welcoming to Sarah and my stepsisters and half-siblings. They were not regular family, but birthdays were remembered, and there was a friendliness there. My maternal family saw them as sort of family friends. But Sarah was not their new daughter, and my stepsister and half-siblings were not considered additional grandchildren. My dad understood this, and there were times my brothers and I did stuff with our maternal family without everyone else. The problem comes in because Dad mentioned to Sarah at some point of their marriage that my grandma had a cookbook that every member of the family had added a recipe to. He added one when he married my mom. Mom added one when she was 15. Her siblings added one as kids. My brothers and I have all added a recipe in there. Our cousins too. Aunts and uncles related not through blood, but through marriage have a recipe in it. Sarah waited to be asked to add a recipe. She also told my stepsister and half-siblings that they would get to add a recipe too. When my stepsister said she knew the recipe she wanted to add, Sarah decided to ask my grandma when they could add their recipes, and my grandma said she never planned to ask them to add recipes, and she hoped Sarah would understand it was for their family. Sarah and my dad argued about it. I learned about it via my brothers when I visited for Christmas. They said Sarah and the other kids were upset that it wasn't going to happen, and Sarah was saying they were part of the family, and it was unfair to exclude them. I was home again for my dad's birthday last week, and Sarah was angry that my maternal family were invited to Dad's birthday. I told her she was behaving like a child who couldn't let go of something. My stepmom said being excluded from your own family is hurtful, that it was hurtful to children especially. I told her she and her kids were never part of my maternal family. They were welcomed as family friends because of Dad and my brothers and me, and she should understand that, and never have expected they would be included in the recipe book. Sarah said I was rude and kicked me out of the house. She told me I owe her a big apology. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. I'm not sure why she's offended if this is your late mother's family. You're correct in what you said to her, and she should have explained the family dynamics to her kids. If this was your dad's blood family, I could understand. But it's not. Not the a-hole. The truth is the truth. She is the son-in-law's second wife. That doesn't make her family to the family of his first wife. If she's that entitled, that's her problem. But resolving this is going to be tricky. Maybe family counseling or a sit-down discussion where your dad delivers the reality check will help. Not the a-hole. Your mother's family owes your stepmother, and quite frankly, owes your father not one mother-ducking thing. They truly are good people for maintaining the relationship with your father how they have. Anecdotally, my wife lost her mother when she was just a bit older than you. My father-in-law will stop in and visit some of his former in-laws when he's in town, and I always thought that was way above board, because in my crappy family, we shut the door and move on fast. Nothing owed to her. Apologize if you want, but they're in the wrong. I, 31 male, recently inherited a classic car from my late grandpa. It's a beautiful '69 Mustang that he restored and maintained meticulously. My brother James, 28 male, and I were always close to our grandpa, and spent countless hours with him working on cars. In his will, Grandpa left the Mustang to both of us, but due to my financial stability and stable job, I was able to take possession of it and cover all the necessary costs. James has always been a bit reckless with money. 2 years ago, he decided to start his own business without doing much research or planning. He poured his entire savings into it, and even took out loans to get things going. Unfortunately, the business failed within a year, and James was left with a mountain of debt. He recently came to me asking if I could lend him the Mustang so he can sell it and use the money to pay off his debts. He promised that once he's back on his feet, he'll find a similar car and return it to me. However, I don't believe he'll ever be able to afford a car like that again. And honestly, I don't trust him with such a valuable possession that holds so much sentimental value for both of us. I told him that I wasn't comfortable with his plan, and he got really upset, accusing me of being selfish and not caring about his financial struggles. My parents, both in their late 50s, are divided on the issue. My mom thinks I should help James, while my dad agrees that I shouldn't risk losing the car. Now my extended family is getting involved, and opinions are all over the place. Some of my aunts and uncles think I'm being heartless, while others understand my point of view. James has been telling everyone that I'm an unsupportive brother who only cares about a car, which is making me look like a massive jerk. I've offered to help James in other ways, like helping him find a job or lending him a smaller amount of money, but he insists that selling the Mustang is the only way he can get out of this mess quickly. I feel torn because I want to help my brother, but I also don't want to lose our grandpa's prized possession. So am I the a-hole for not wanting to give my brother the car we inherited from our grandpa after he blew all his money on a failed business venture? Is there a better way to handle this situation? Not the a-hole. What you should do is give your brother half of the car's value and be done. You want to keep the car, and he needs money. That's the only fair thing to do. Not the a-hole. I wouldn't give him the car to sell. You will never see that money or a similar car again. You've offered reasonable solutions that he has shot down. If your family thinks you're heartless for not helping your brother, then they should all pull together to give him the money for his debts. Not the a-hole. It's a family heirloom. Him selling it is disrespectful as duck, and he put himself in financial turmoil. Sorry, don't sell the car. Your grandpa would not be happy about that. I was in a relationship from 18 to 24 years old. He was 5 years older. He wanted children and marriage in the next 2 years, but I didn't want that at the time, so I broke up. I was sad about the breakup, but I knew that it was the right decision. I wanted to study without a child. I was 1 year away from finishing, travel with friends, and enjoy my 20s. After 1 year of our breakup, I had a one-night stand with a friend who had a crush on me for years, and after realizing I was pregnant, we stayed together. We moved together and in another city because of our jobs. After the birth of our daughter, we married. I couldn't be happier with my husband. We are now together for nearly 5 years and happier than ever. I didn't know if my ex knows that I became a mother. Since I moved away while being pregnant, I missed a lot of birthdays of our mutual friends, and he didn't follow me on social media. Now is the wedding from one of our mutual friends, and I was happy about the invite. But then I got a message from another one of our friends. He told me that nobody told my ex that I became a mother and married, and that he hadn't seriously dated anybody else after the breakup. He is successful in his job and concentrates on that, but his friends are worried that he is lonely. They requested that I come without my child. We actually had this planned before, so my husband and me have enough time to reconnect, and my mother-in-law would be so happy to have our daughter overnight. And don't mention my husband. I disagreed. Before I asked the bride if she wanted me not to come, and told her the request from our other friends. She told me that I should definitely come, and that she doesn't see any problem with it. When we arrived for the wedding, we realized that we were seated next to my ex. I found that strange. I went quietly to the bride and told her that would probably not be the best idea, but she brushed it off. My ex barely talked to me, but drank a lot. My husband chatted with another person from our table and mentioned our daughter, after 2 hours sitting at the table. My ex broke loose. He made a big scene and accused me of lying to him about not wanting children. It was so embarrassing, and ultimately my husband and I left while my ex got carried away by other guests. Since then, I got calls from mutual friends calling me the a-hole because I rubbed my lock under my ex's nose. I'm a little bit confused. The bride is unhappy and accused me of ruining the wedding, since I could just not mention my daughter and that she was sad about the scene it caused. You didn't cause a scene, your ex did. He's the a-hole. And you know what? Your friend is the a-hole too for sitting all next to each other, knowing all that history, and she still thought it would be okay. Nope. Not the a-hole. Oh, please. They sat you next to your ex on purpose. There is no way they didn't know he wouldn't behave that way when drinking. It's on him for acting that way, not you. You even asked to be moved. Total setup by your so-called friends thinking they could get you two back together. Not the a-hole. It's been over half a decade, and it's not your fault how life turned out. None of us predicts who we will be in a year's time with complete accuracy. What? You were supposed to avoid marrying or having kids just because you didn't want that with your ex, whom you don't even speak to anymore? Ridiculous. The fact that your ex blew up after that long, in a public venue, says you dodged a bullet. His misery is not your responsibility. And you warned the bride. All of these mutual friends had every chance to tell your ex beforehand if they were so concerned. And that's what would have made sense, to casually mention it so he wouldn't be surprised. And as his friends, that's appropriate coming from them, not you, a now virtual stranger. It's not on you to contact someone you haven't spoken to for 6 years to explain yourself. And it's not your fault ex acted volatilely, like some inebriated toddler who feels he's owed something. If anyone else gives you grief, simply turn it around and ask them why they didn't prevent the issue by being honest with him and consoling him. What responsibility of it was yours?